Chapter 9. Teaching. Teaching on Earth is a next-level challenge. In the previous chapter, we saw examples of old souls who came to Earth to pursue their passion and in the process taught the world important lessons about love and compassion. Souls who teach are usually more advanced in their loving growth and can take on more challenging roles to help others learn. They prepare for their roles by going through a pre-birth planning process where spirit guides and elders let them preview their teaching roles so they can decide if it is what they want to attempt. Many times teachers we encounter are our soulmates who've agreed to play parts that will stimulate our learning. They join us in our pre-birth planning, hear our learning objective, and offer to incarnate during our lifetime to play whatever part will help us reach our goal. Victim. Soulmates who agree to teach us may volunteer for roles or events that are dramatic and jarring. They may agree to play someone we care about deeply who becomes the victim of something disastrous to jolt us out of our comfortable earthly existence and provide a catalyst for our learning. Volunteering to be a victim might sound like a cruel role for a teacher to play, but remember a few things. Souls can't be physically harmed. Our time on Earth is like the blink of an eye compared to all eternity. And to reduce mental trauma, souls can disconnect from their bodies when harm to their human is imminent. Souls can avoid the effects of experiencing the horrific teaching moments by viewing them from an out-of-body experience. From that perspective, where amnesia is dissolved, they can remember how the terrible event that's happening is part of their planned life and can watch the destruction of their human costume from a distant and all-knowing perspective. When teacher souls volunteer to play younger victims, they are always spared the trauma of watching the destruction of their humans. Kay Melans, in her book What It Is Like to Die and What Comes After, says these souls are whisked away before the event by motherly angels who escort them back to heaven. To help you understand how painful situations can benefit our learning during our Earth School visit, here are a few samples of common personal struggles experienced on Earth and what they can teach. Abandonment. We can feel abandoned when a relationship ends abruptly, a loved one dies prematurely, or our human is given up for adoption. When a loved one abruptly severs a relationship, there are several lessons these situations can teach us. One lesson could be karmic, where we abandoned someone in the past, and now it is our turn to feel the emotional gut punch when someone does it to us. The primary reason we might experience abandonment and other painful relationship situations is to help us assess the strength of our self-love. Distressful circumstances in relationships, like abandonment, are meant to disrupt our comfortable lives and provide an opportunity for us to take a closer look at ourselves. This introspection can help us to recognize that the love we have for ourselves is dependent on being accepted and loved by others. During this time of independence, ideally, we learn to admire how capable we are to live on our own. If the lesson works, this admiration helps strengthen our love for ourselves. With a stronger self-love, we can then choose new relationships that are mutually beneficial partnerships rather than codependencies. Abandonment because of adoption can be another teaching tool to jolt us into self-reflection so we learn confidence and worthiness independent of others interacting with us. An adopted child can also be playing the role of a teacher. Souls may agree in pre-birth planning to play the role of an adopted child to teach a fellow soulmate who is living in a childless relationship the joy of parenthood. Abusive relationships. Sometimes our soulmates play a bad guy who puts us in agonizing situations to help us learn. When our soulmates agree to play an aggressive or hurtful role in our lives, they will apologize during the pre-birth planning for having to play such a part. They make it clear they are only playing it because we are asking for their help in shaping the experiences that spirit guides believe will effectively teach us. When a relationship turns contentious, there can be several lessons being taught. One possibility is karmic. In a past life, we may have hurt or abused another soulmate who has now accompanied us into this life to deliver similar hurt to us. Through this karmic experience, we learn how it feels to be abused, so we can gain compassion and empathy for people in these situations. Another possible lesson is gaining self-love, similar to what we can learn through abandonment. Keep in mind what Becky Tilly advises when faced with abusive relationships. Prioritizing self-love is non-negotiable. Any abusive relationship is telling us to wake up and realize we deserve better treatment than is being shown to us. We must protect our feelings of self-worth and distance ourselves from these relationships. Then in our independence, we should concentrate on learning to recognize our self-worth and grow in self-love. From this safe distance, we can also review the situation and consider what other lessons our soulmate was trying to teach us. Physical dependency. These soulmate teachers are physically dependent individuals in our lives, like a child with autism, a teenager with an addiction or mental illness, or a loved one with progressive disorders like ALS, dementia, or Alzheimer's. Soulmates who take on these roles for our benefit can teach us many things. First, they teach us to live in the moment. The unpredictability of our soulmates' behaviors causes us to be constantly vigilant of the present moment because their safety and survival may depend on it. Their unpredictability also teaches us to let life unfold as it will and deal with whatever comes. There will come a time when being a caregiver feels overwhelming. It is then we must reach out to others for help. This is not a time to practice independence. Remember your non-negotiable self-love and prioritize your mental and physical health so you can continue to support your loved ones. A life where someone is physically dependent on us also teaches us to realign our priorities. We learn what's important and what is unnecessary or frivolous. Caregiving teaches us to view others who give or need care with empathy and compassion. When we see our loved ones' situations versus our own, we can also learn gratitude for the blessings we have, that we can care for them and share our love with them. There are no limits to the types of teaching experiences we can have on earth because each of us learns in different ways. Regardless of the teaching experiences, each is intended to help us grow rather than harm us. And throughout the whole experience, our spirit guide and other heavenly beings are there to help us through those difficult lessons. Old soul teachers. Not all of Earth's teachers are our soulmates who accompanied us here to give us individual lessons. Some are old souls who've mastered earthly living and want to come back to teach general life lessons. A common lesson some old souls teach is that situations in life aren't inherently good or bad. What makes it one or the other is how we choose to respond to it. These teachers demonstrate how, regardless of what unfortunate things happen to us, we can choose a path that includes self-love, compassion, and love for others. Here are some perfect examples of old souls teachers we've seen in recent history who've delivered this valuable lesson. Helen Keller. The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. Helen Keller. Keller was an old soul who partnered with a human who very early in her life contracted something that left her without the ability to see or hear. This old soul taught the world that loss of both hearing and sight wasn't a good excuse for failing to accomplish great things. With the help of others, Keller learned sign language, how to read Braille, and speak. She attended Radcliffe College of Harvard University and became the first deaf-blind person in the U.S. to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree. She became an international speaker and advocate for the blind. She used her notoriety and public platform to speak out for pacifism, legalization, and accessibility of birth control, and the right for women to vote. She helped found the American Civil Liberties Union and authored 14 books and hundreds of speeches and articles. Among her many awards were the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the Theodore Roosevelt Distinguished Service Medal. Scarlett and Jesse Lewis. I didn't write this story, I didn't start this story, but I can write the ending. Scarlett Lewis. Lewis and her son are old souls who demonstrated it's not what happens to you, but how you respond that matters. You never want to outlive your children, but that's exactly what single mom Scarlett Lewis did. Her 6-year-old son, Jesse, was gunned down in the Sandy Hook school shooting after he helped 9 other classmates to safety. After the tragedy, Lewis noticed a message young Jesse had left on the family chalkboard. It was 3 simple words: nurturing, healing, love. Scarlett Lewis used those words as inspiration from her son and chose forgiveness and compassion over bitterness and anger. After the shooting, Scarlett Lewis wrote a book called Nurturing Healing Love, A Mother's Journey of Hope and Forgiveness, and started the Choose Love movement. It is a school curriculum for character building that is now being used in over 120 countries. It is intended to address the root cause of violence to help prevent it. Malala Yousafzai. I truly believe the only way we can create global peace is through not only educating our minds, but our hearts and our souls. Malala Yousafzai. The most effective way to call attention to areas of the world that need improvement is to involve children. When these innocents are involved in starvation, sickness, and war, people take notice. That is why this old soul volunteered to come to Earth to shine a light on a way to improve the world through education. She loved learning and saw it as life-changing. When the Taliban took control of her neighborhood, education for women was banned. She gained local notoriety for being an outspoken advocate for women's education, but being a child didn't stop her from being targeted by the Taliban. At 15, she was shot in the face to silence her. Thanks to her resilience and a team of medical professionals, she survived, and her voice only got louder. After her recovery, she spoke before the United Nations on the importance of education for all. Her efforts for equality and education for all have been awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, Asia Game Changer Award, Mother Teresa Award, and one Peace Prize has been named after her. She received the United Nations Prize in the field of human rights, as Nelson Mandela and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did before her. Nick Vujicic. There's no point in being complete on the outside when you're broken on the inside. Nick Vujicic. He is an old soul who partnered with a human that has a rare disorder characterized by the absence of arms and legs called tetra amelia syndrome. Vujicic is an inspiring teacher who shows others how nothing should stop you from reaching your potential in life. He endured an initial rejection from his mother when he was born, was bullied in school, and eventually tried to end his life. Then he turned his life around. He became an inspirational speaker at 17, graduated from Griffith University at age 21, became an international motivational speaker who has published 8 books, and is married with 4 children of his own. William Kamkwamba. Whatever you want to do, if you do it with all your heart, it will happen. William Kamkwamba. Kamkwamba is the perfect example of an old soul who taught us that obstacles should not stand in the way of our dreams. His human grew up on a corn farm in a rural village in Malawi, Africa. Kamkwamba has 6 sisters, and the family lived in an area without electricity or running water. When he was 14, weather extremes caused droughts and flooding that led to a famine during which his parents lost their farming income. They were barely surviving and could no longer afford to send him to school. Kamkwamba was a curious old soul and frequented the local small library so he could continue to learn. He was at a disadvantage because the books were in English, which he couldn't read. He relied on illustrations to learn concepts. In one book called Using Energy, he saw a contraption called a windmill that could create electricity and pump water. He set out to build one. He couldn't buy materials, so he salvaged what he could at the local junkyard. He found parts from a tractor, bicycle, old metal fan blade, and tree branches. Eventually, he built his first windmill that created enough electricity to power 4 lights and 2 radios. Since then, he's spoken twice on the TED stage and wrote a memoir titled The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. It was later turned into a children's book and a feature film. With help from supporters, Kamkwamba graduated from Dartmouth College with a degree in environmental studies and co-founded the Moving Windmills Project, which works on initiatives such as drilling wells for clean water and installing solar panels at school and community centers. Kamkwamba was able to realize the full potential of his dreams thanks to the many who rallied to support him. He is a living example of what Paulo Coelho wrote in his book, The Alchemist. And when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it.